Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about another example of virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Virtue signaling. We've got a showrunner, Netflix Daredevil showrunner, who's also writing for Marvel Comics, quitting Marvel over the editor-in-chief's controversial past. It is a non-traversy. It's C.B. Cebulski, who is Marvel's editor-in-chief. He used a pen name.
And this is old news. This has been out there for
news.
years, so I doubt very highly he leaves right now after it's been out for like, what, several years now?
Several years. Everybody knows he used a pen name when he was writing comics in, I believe he was in Japan for a while, and he was doing Marvel Comics over there, and he used a Japanese-sounding pen name. And you know what? That's not unusual for all people talking about, cultural appropriation, all of that. Japan, they use pen names all the time.
But your name isn't Neon?
It's not Neon, I'm sorry. Actually, I found out that Neon actually is a legit Scandinavian name. But I have an out.
You're Scandinavian. Your family's Scandinavian.
Family's Scandinavian. So yeah, I do have an out. So I can get away with that. It's not cultural appropriation.
I just think, this is stupid. If this was the case, why didn't he do it back when it was an actual issue and back when people were actually talking about it? Why now? Why way after the fact?
Because Twitter told him.
No, I think it's because he was going to leave anyway, and now he's trying to get some attention for himself.
Yeah, and we saw this happen with the showrunner of Dear White People, not currently working at Netflix, but making a big deal about how they were going to boycott Netflix.
Yeah, but they already weren't. That was over. It was already over. They didn't. It wasn't going to hurt them any to not do Netflix because they already had their deal, and they were probably told no on another one, which is why they're acting that way for all we know. Now, I mean, I will say I appreciate the fact that if he was a showrunner on Daredevil, I really, really, really like Daredevil, so I'll give him some props for that.
Yeah.
But this is very convenient timing, if you ask me.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. This is all about getting points on Twitter and Twitter dogpiling, and I love how Twitter they always act like they're not aware of something. Like, we didn't know about this big controversial issue that
we were having a shit fit about like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think they have a list. I swear to God, I think these people have a list they go down. They're like, oh, we haven't pestered C.B. Cebulski in a while.
Well, I want to get attention. I'm moving to another job that I was moving to anyway, but I want to make sure I get some attention for myself on my way out.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, over 236,000 subs.
Woo!
Thank you for the support. We do talk about comics, talk about pop culture, talk about Netflix. This situation we've talked about before. C.B. Cebulski, who came into Marvel 4 years ago as their new editor-in-chief after the ousting of Axel Alonso. And this was 2017 when it was so bad at Marvel. They had an article in one of the Hollywood papers. 2017 was the year that everything went wrong for Marvel. They had angry retailers. They had declining sales. This is right after they did their big, Marvel Now initiative where they swapped out all the main characters for all the replacement characters, just like they're going to do in the MCU. And it's going to work just as well as it did in the comic books. But things were so bad that Disney, pushed them out, and they brought in C.B. Cebulski, who's actually been with Marvel in various capacities for a number of years. And immediately, because I know what this is about. This is about politics. It's because, Axel Alonso was progressive and he was going to change it up and stick it to the fanboys. Cebulski came in and all the media outlets, all the comic book sites and Twitter dogpiled him. It's like, don't you remember? 7 or 8 years ago, he was outed as having a pen name. It's cultural appropriation.
I have a fake name too. But Geeky Sparkles is for everyone.
It is. It is. Sparkles are for everyone.
That's right.
So yeah, comic book resources. It's problematic. 4 years ago. Now, Sana Amanat actually defended him. Sana Amanat, who seems to really be running Marvel.
Yeah, it seems that way.
So she needed him.
Yeah.
She needed him where he was. So she defended him. And we thought it was water under the bridge. But we know how Twitter works. Nothing is ever truly forgotten when there's some benefit to be gained.
So this guy is going to bring up something from 4 years ago that was all over the news and has been over the news repeatedly in the last few years.
Yeah.
As he's just now found out.
He did. People told him. So yeah, Netflix Daredevil showrunner quits Marvel over EIC's controversial past.
Bullshit.
Again,
I call bullshit.
This was dealt with 4 fucking years ago.
I call bullshit on this.
Marvel writer and former Daredevil showrunner Stephen S. DeKnight revealed he won't work with Marvel Comics unless EIC CB Cebulski is let go. Well, goodbye, and don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I'm like, okay, you know how many people have said this before, and none of them, he's still there?
Former Daredevil showrunner and current Marvel Comics writer Stephen S. DeKnight has revealed he won't continue to write for the publisher until current editor-in-chief CB Cebulski steps down.
So?
I'd tell him to go fuck himself publicly.
I'm like, you and everybody, there's, so what? Let's replace you with somebody cheaper anyway.
This was dealt with 4 years ago. He might get gone, but if he gets gone, it's going to be because Disney is going to start cutting costs again. In a series of tweets, DeKnight explained that he couldn't stand by and work under a man who climbed to the top through cultural identity. That bullshit. Bullshit. That's not actually what happened. He didn't climb to the top because he had a pen name. He used a pen name to separate, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was to separate his editorial duties at Marvel from his writing duties, because as I understand it, you weren't allowed to technically write for Marvel while also being an editor at Marvel.
Which that was more of an issue than this. Right. But here's the thing. You're going to love this. My daughter's name is Japanese.
Dun, dun, dun.
And she's not Japanese, but the name's pretty. So I used it.
Yeah.
Just like there's a lot of people in Asian countries that have Western names they use, and they're not Western. Oh my God, right?
After rumors he previously used the pen name Akira Yoshida, Cebulski admitted he used
didn't lie. He said, yeah, I did.
After being promoted to editor-in-chief of Marvel.
He admitted it openly.
It was out there before. This whole thing is so disingenuous. It was out there before. It was common knowledge that Cebulski used this pen name. Going back to like 2011, 2012. Right.
So bullshit. This is why you're bringing it up now.
Yeah, before he took the job. No, they brought it up because he got the job, and there were people who were pissed off that he got the job.
So my question is this: is he still there, or was he fired or going to be gone anyway? And now he's like, well, no, I'm leaving because of this controversy that was from 3 years ago that I'm just now supposedly finding out about.
There had long been rumors Cebulski was using the name to write stories while still an editor at Marvel. Yes. Cebulski confirmed that was the case after Bleeding Cool reported and exposed the entire situation. No, it was out there 5 years before that. I remember hearing about it. It was on message boards. They were 99.9% certain, and he kind of was like, yeah, whatever, wink nod, because the reason he did it wasn't cultural appropriation. It was he wanted to separate his editorial self from his writing self. People do it all the time. Writers do it all the time.
Well, not just that. People on the internet, you don't know who they are. No. I guarantee you there's lots of people on the internet who are saying there's something they're not. Or you know what? Just because you live someplace now doesn't mean that your family isn't historically from a certain group. I'm like, come on.
The ensuing conversation that followed the revelation understandably focused on the problem with a white man pretending to be Asian, with equal concern over how Cebulski walked away relatively unscathed, being given a slap on the wrist for a quite pathetic cover-up attempt.
What was it?
Everybody knew it. Rich Johnston didn't find out shit. He was angry because he probably was a friend of Axel Alonso's. Alonso got gone. People didn't think it was fair that he got gone the way he got gone. Some of his cronies, and he got gone because Disney just looked at the numbers and they looked at the headlines and were like, wow, this is bullshit. So people tried to retaliate. They're like, who are they bringing in?
And guess what? Cebulski's still there.
He's still there. 4 years later. This isn't, if they fire him now, I'd be like, fuck off. It's also important to note that Cebulski didn't just impersonate an Asian man. He used that false identity to act as though he was an authority on Japanese culture.
Well, that's okay. The media uses names and stuff to act like they're an authority on pop culture all the damn time.
What about
necessarily true?
Anime News Network that constantly acts like they're the authority on Japanese pop culture? Right. Most of them are Americans.
Yeah, and some of them use pen names too, I'm sure.
They do.
How dare they?
The criticism lobbed his way from the Asian community and beyond. Actually, I don't remember there being much criticism. Despite the calls to fire him, Cebulski managed to convince Marvel his past problematic actions were a mistake.
Well, maybe he honestly thinks they are, and he was trying to make up for it.
4 years after this this is the thing. Like, Twitter never fucking forgets. I would love for people to turn the table on these Twitter doxers and harassers and actually set up a system to go out and find out who is instigating the shit,
well,
who
they tried to before with these whisper networks. But you know what? I bet you if you look into Stephen DeKnight's past, you'll probably find some stuff that somebody would find problematic too. That's just it. Everybody does stuff they shouldn't have done.
Most of the time when people try to cancel somebody, it's because they're compensating, or they're trying to throw, or deflect. They're trying to throw you off. And you find out that the people who are big advocates of cancel culture are themselves problematic. And a lot of times it's worse than the stuff that they're calling for other people to be fired for. Like, oh, this person used a Japanese pen name, but, and I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying, well, I'm actually kind of in the kiddie stuff, Not saying he is, but I'm just saying that's kind of we've seen this happen. We had some like Star Wars people that were like, you need to cancel all the right wingers, and it turned out that they were creeps. I would love for people to be like, let's find out who's calling for cancellation on Twitter, on message boards, whatever, and find out who they really are, because they're hiding behind names.
Well, you know what? It's interesting to me too. It's like, well, this is after the fact, years after the fact. What he thinks he should have the job? I'm wondering.
So DeKnight voiced his concern about Cebulski's past and position at Marvel Comics once alerted by Twitter of his previous controversy.
But that's 4 years old controversy, and it has never died. Like over at least once a year it gets brought up. There's no way he did not know. I find it very unlikely.
Yeah, bullshit. It was Rich Johnson made sure everybody knew.
Everybody
already knew.
I'm not even a comics person, and I knew all about it.
He said it was completely unacceptable. DeKnight noted that he loves working with Marvel Comics, but finding out about Cebulski's past changed the equation drastically. He doesn't need the money. He was a producer. He doesn't need the money. There's so many great editors there to allow a man who climbed to the top through cultural identity theft to remain in that position is unconscionable.
I'm sure Stevie here has some things that are probably considered unconscionable too. Everybody does.
Completely unacceptable. Writing for Marvel is a childhood dream come true. My next issue comes out in December, but I can't in good conscience.
Wait, he just has to advertise himself?
Yeah.
It's completely unacceptable. By the way, my next issue comes out in December. So if you agree with me and you're all, I'm doing the right thing, wink, wink, don't cancel me, go buy my book. 230 likes. What the hell? It's great to see DeKnight use his platform to push back against Cebulski. Remember when... Fuck. Okay, despite Bleeding Cool's report, the editor-in-chief of Marvel was reprimanded for his past and previous pen name. In almost any other situation after revealing the truth, he would have been canned. Why?
This is the most fucking biased article. This is coming from Screen Rant. They're literally saying he should be fired. This isn't objective reporting. If you were objective and you said, look, here people have this problem, people have that problem. Sana Amanat stuck up for him. Disney's well aware of it. You know what? They don't give a fuck. Everybody knew, including Rich Johnson. Everybody knew he was using that pen name for years. Now, I don't know CB that well. I think I talked to him a couple of times on Twitter years ago. Everybody knew, okay? And this is being used as a weapon against him to get him out of there because people were salty that Axel Alonso got gone and the people they wanted to be put in charge of Marvel, it didn't happen. And so look what happened. As soon as Cebulski got in there, I don't know if you remember, but he almost immediately... And he had to walk it back, but he immediately started canceling titles like Iceman and stuff like that wasn't performing. He got in there and he's like, because he knew what to do. He's like, let's get in here. Let's cancel this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And then immediately like, oh my God, it's so problematic. He's trying to cancel gay people. It's like Iceman's only been gay for like 6 months. Yeah. It doesn't sell. It's gone. And then because of this whole thing has been hanging over his head for years. So anytime this guy tries to do anything, I think that would help Marvel Comics sell more comics, he has his hands tied because they're like, well, you're the guy who pretended to be Japanese. I am sure if you go through these people, you can find shit on them too. I guarantee it. Because everybody's done some stuff they shouldn't have done. Sure, he's helped raise the platform of Asian creators and characters since he took on the role, but that doesn't cancel out his past while pretending to be Akira Yoshida. It will be fascinating to see if DeKnight's actions and words will encourage Marvel Comics. What about actors? Okay, we have actors playing other people in movies all the damn time. And some of them, are playing characters that aren't even the same race as them. Because in Hollywood's mind, that's the same damn thing. And no one's canceling them or the idiots who think it's the same damn thing. Outlets like this, outlets like Screen Rant, and this guy's probably friends with Rich Johnson or friends with somebody at Marvel. I mean, this is not reporting. This is basically Dear Marvel, fire Cebulski.
It's just a couple tweets and they read a whole article on it.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely...
They have comments on it because it's such a non-issue.
Lead writer for the Screen Rant comic team? Holy shit.
That's how low you've fallen, Screen Rant?
Do they have any comments? Not a single comment. Nobody gives a shit.
This was published 2 days ago.
Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. IGN tried to kick up the drama too. Logan Plant. I think he's another one that's always...
Wait, his name's Logan Plant.
Logan Plant.
And you don't find that suspicious?
All these guys, I'm telling you, they're all talking to each other back channel. They're probably hanging out in a Slack channel with Rich Johnston.
We know there are groups.
We know there are whisper networks trying to get CB Cebulski shit canned. You know what'll happen, right? Disney will get the wrong message from this. They'll be like, yeah, there's a lot of drama around Marvel Comics. You know what? We don't really need comic books anymore. Let's just pull the plug.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, I am hearing from some people that EVS might be correct, that they're actually considering pulling the plug on DC Comics monthly comics. Can't verify for 100% without outing the source, but I am getting independent confirmation that DC in the very near future might be done with single issues. And you know what? Disney's going to look at that too. And they're going to be like, yeah, why are we doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. We don't need editors anymore. We'll just reprint Infinity Gauntlet and reprint Dark Phoenix Saga. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Everybody's have a job now, including
I'm just like, I don't believe that they just now found out about
They
this.
did not.
Especially if they were in Marvel as much as they supposedly are. Everybody knows it. Even non-comic book people know this. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Sorry.
There's a power play going on here.
There's
somewhere.
definitely
There's
some
something
underlying
going on.
something. And if studios listen to these news outlets, they're dumbasses anyway.
Anyway, so that is the controversy of the day. Again, if Cebulski gets gone, he's going to get gone because of numbers and because of Disney just deciding to change things up, not because of this one guy complaining.
I also want to point out that Screen Rant and CBR are owned by the exact same damn company.
And Collider.
Yeah. So these three are owned by the same people. So yes, they're talking back channel because they're covering the exact same damn thing.
Yeah. And that's how a lot of these companies work. I mean, they're all owned by the same media outlet. We know CBS owned a whole bunch of them, and I think they sold a bunch of their sites off. They still have comicbook.com, but they sold a bunch of sites off. Yeah, so all these journalists, they all talk. So usually there's a call for, a certain person to be canceled, and all these media outlets, they all dogpile.
But this one, the two places you found articles on it was Screen Rant and comic book resources.
Yeah.
Comic book CBR. And there's two articles at the same time. They jumped on it because they're the same company.
Yeah, and they've got people talking back channel, but they actually go outside of, you have a lot of freelance journalists that write for multiple outlets for different companies. So you could have, we saw this with the Comicsgate situation where you had like there were like 2 or 3 journos that went from site to site to site writing hit pieces on Comicsgate, and it made it sound like there was all this outrage about Comicsgate on a whole bunch of different websites, and here it was the same couple of journalists that were just
on different sites.
Yeah, because they know, they're like, oh, I got the power now, bitches. And this thing on Screen Rant, I mean, this is one of the most ridiculous, biased hit pieces. In the It's a Small World category here, Jonah Weiland, who was the founder of CBR before he sold it to Valnet, was a vice president at DC Comics, and then he was one of the ones that got laid off last year.
Maybe he's looking for a job and whispering to his friends. Who knows? Who
knows? There's something going on back channel.
There's something weird going down here.
Absolutely. Somebody wants Cebulski's job, and they're weaponizing Twitter to get it. And, just the amount of backbiting and backstabbing in comics now is insane because the jobs are running out.
But when you see all these things in lockstep, go down the rabbit hole. You'll probably find that there are connections, like there are between these two sites.
Yeah, and if we had actual comic book journalists, they would find these connections. Some of these connections are very, very obvious, but since they're friends with people,
I'm not a comic book journalist, and I found all. It was me who found all this in like 2 minutes while we were doing this video.
Yeah.
But they're connected, guys. Look, they almost always are connected. And if there's lockstep going on, I bet you'll find, if you follow the breadcrumbs, you'll find how this stuff's owned by a certain group and they're all connected.
We're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.